Yo, what's up, everybody? Thanks for stopping in. So I'm going to get into this reaction to the last episode of Gen V here. Just 1 second. Yeah, there we go. Let's get some of my graphics in order. All right, so let's get into it. Let's, I got it queued up here, reasonably queued up. All right, I am back and I'm ready now to get into this last episode of Gen V. Let me get my music turned down here just a little bit. Right, again, you gotta try to mitigate any of the copyright stuff. Okay. All right, so something just kind of cool. All right, let's get into this last episode of Gen V. And I feel like this was a doozy. There was a lot going on in this episode. And, I'm glad this first screenshot pops up because this gives me a chance to talk a little bit about this relationship, which is Polarity and Emma, right? Lil Cricket, as I still like to call her, right? And it's a very cool relationship because you're seeing a bridging of generation, and like these two on the surface really should have the least amount of things in common, right? But they find a bond in their commonality that and Emma has shown a capacity to be able to cross bridges a little bit, and he was very open. So this has been a very, very interesting relationship. I think this season, and we'll see what really comes out of it. But this is really where I want to get into it. Like, so all this gets back to this guy Godolkin, right? Like Godolkin is back on the scene. He's resurfaced, right? He's all about that life. And we see this guy, man, like, I'm going to tell you right now that if you're going to watch this reaction, I watched this thing last night, so I kind of know where my takes are and what I wanted to say. So I'm just kind of warning you, right off the bat, is if you haven't watched this episode, there'll be some spoiler alerts, right? Like, that's definitely going to happen because I'm going to talk about everything I saw on the show. And I'm looking for something to clip if I can find it. I just want to see if this thing's going to work for me. Okay. I just want to see something here, guys. I'm just trying something out.
You don't want to hear it. Nope. Because it's really bad. Hey, spoiler alert, nigga. Did you hear me? Keep it to yourself.
Yeah, that's a clip I'm gonna have to edit that clip, right, so I can get it in here and make it useful for what I'm doing. But okay, so this was episode 8, and here's one of my issues because I want to be able to clip this out, right? One of the issues is obviously we see Godolkin in the bed with Sage, right? Okay, and we love obviously seeing like the black woman getting some parts in these superhero flicks. Okay, but why she gotta be fucking everybody, man? Like, there's a line obviously between being just like liberated and kind of being like a tool. Like, she fucks everybody, man. Like, everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, we done seen her with at least 3 dudes in limited screen time. Okay, relative to her, she spends a lot of time like, and again, I like this character. I'm just saying, y'all making something a little awkward for me at this point with her, right? So we get into the episode, and obviously, like, this is still all about Marie in every single way. This is all about Marie, And Marie to me is one of the most frustrating characters because, like, obviously I love Marie. That's the homegirl right there. I love her powers, but like she kind of walked into a lot of this, not understanding what's going on, not reading the landscape, really made her just wide open to, like I said, you brought Godolkin back, and ultimately a lot of people died, because of that. But in this scene right here, she kind of gets into herself a little bit, and you can see what she's talking about, the girl who cuts herself. This is how she's feeling at this moment, and that's an interesting take that she takes, or how she comes at it, because this is who she was at the very beginning. At the very beginning, she was the girl who cuts herself. That was kind of defined. All of the characters were more defined. Their powers were like a manifestation that kind of went along with whatever their like noodle situation was. So for her to be at that point and be like, I'm back to being that girl again, that was a very powerful moment. I felt like for Marie, like a really down moment after all this. And again, it's Emma who's the one who kind of stands up and is like, fuck that, or whatever she says about it. And, she's like, that's the kind of support that Emma's going to give you right there, is that support. And this is after all this stuff is going down. And Emma still remains, as far as the show goes, one of the most, like, just solid characters, right? Like I said, her, I mentioned she was the first, I was mentioning her relationship with Polarity, and again, I was talking about her ability to connect with people across the spectrum. That seems to be one of her biggest things. She's the one out of the group that she's almost the emotional center if I look at that group, if there was one, right? This Gen Z core, right, they struggle in a lot of ways in their own heads because of, obviously, being a soup, all of them struggle with this situation. Every single one of them, right? So she's no different, right? So Emma still resonates as that core, the one who pushes back on people. I can't remember how she felt about Kate coming back to the crew. I think she was pretty supportive of Kate too, like once she got into it. So one of the things, and I've been simultaneously watching this along with the Titans. I've been watching the Titans, as well, and I'll probably do another breakdown on the Titans later on today. But if I look, like, these are two sets of superpowered beings that are really driven by their trauma, right? It's fully on display with all these characters. And some of them don't run away from it. Like, Emma really talks about it right here in this scene where she's talking about what she would have done. So for her, this is a lot of progress. And even I think if I can get, what she says here. Right. Right. She's admitting, like, this is some real maturity in Emma. That she's admitting that even talking about it in this scene where Marie is kind of confronting where her core is, the girl who cuts herself. And she relates this, obviously, to herself being the girl that binges and purges. And within that, she's saying there's still a part of her that still thinks that that's a good idea. That's awareness on a very profound level, like what we're really seeing out of Emma. Like, there's a lot of growth just in that. Her coming to terms with, it's integrating your two parts, which is what we typically want to seek. We want to seek integrating all the parts of ours. We see this in a lot of storytelling, and that's kind of the mark of good character arc when they reach a level of self-awareness, and that's what she's showing us here. So we got a good kind of moment of bonding, between all the principals left, and these are truly some survivors here, including Kate. Like, if we look at Kate at the beginning of season 1, she was the golden girl. She had it all, right? She was everything. Everybody wanted to be Kate, and systematically, the show has taken everything away from her, right? Everything that was her strength, and to me, it kind of makes me think, like, in mythic terms, it makes me think about Inanna, where you have to be stripped of everything to go through your crucible and to come back, right? And that's kind of where Kate is. I mean, like, she's permanently disfigured. At least it seems like permanent. I know Marie heals her, and again, spoiler alert. I'm all about. Wait, can I get my spoiler alert? I'm all about it, right? But she still is enduring. Like, and I don't know. You know, I was talking to my wife about it the other day, about, you know, this episode, and she's like, you know, she never will trust Kate, right? And that's a profound thing, because I'm like, man, can Kate ever move back into that point? To me, you know, I'm more forgiving. Like, I believe in forgiveness. I believe in the forgiveness of it, and I'll tell you why. You know, if you watch the Titans, that team is all about forgiveness. Like, they all do some crazy stuff, but the thing about the Titans is that they continually forgive each other for whatever it is, and I think there's real strength in that. I may not ever mess with you on the same terms, right? Like, I pointed out in the relationship with you know, if you're not familiar with the show, it's not gonna make sense. But Dick and Jason, Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, and you know, he was kind of saying, like, at the end of the day, like, yeah, I can't ever mess with you like that. You can't ever be a Titan again. But on a personal level, I still got you. I still care about you, you know, in that regard. And I'm going to show you this by giving this forgiveness and hoping that you can walk down the right path. So there's a lot in that forgiveness. And this team kind of is kind of flirting with those issues, right? So let's skip ahead a little bit here. I want to get to some other scenes here that I thought were very powerful. Oh yeah, I mean, like, Godolkin, man, he gets right after it, man. This guy, like, okay, I gotta give it up to Godolkin, because after being, like, in stasis or whatever he's in for however long this was, like 60 years, you know what? I was gonna give him this profound ability, like, to reconnect with modern times, but you've been walking around in modern times this entire time. Man, this is actually, man, like, a great story. When you get to the modern introduction of Thomas Godolkin, I'm torn, because it's like, it's insane that they give us this flashback where he gets burnt up, and then we're like, to the, you know, this movie, as the show's going on, who's this burnt up guy over here, right? And even my mom was like, well, that burnt up guy is probably this burnt up guy from here. I'm like, okay, that totally makes sense. So in that arc, this is some brilliance, right? Like, taking this guy from myth, bringing him in, giving him how he manifested his powers to keep him connected, and having multiple hosts, right? This guy who he was recently in, I think he called himself David, was just like, I'm the second host, or at least, you know, he knew himself to be the second host. Whether that was really true or not, we don't know. But, you know, to reveal this is how this guy's been moving. This is a very powerful. And then we see how many of these soups he was able to control all at once. Like, clearly a guy who, man, I would say, yeah, you're probably more, like, the challenge was he more powerful than Homelander? And I'm like, yeah, he's more powerful than Homelander. I think at that point, I think he could probably have controlled Homelander. And I think that's what he was kind of testing to see. And, you know, although we saw some holes in that with polarity, right? But I think it was specific to his type of ability. But it would have been great to see this guy handle or see if he could get at, you know, Homelander in that regard. But he gets right into it, man. You know, as a character, I love that girl. I don't know what her name is. She's kind of the bad girl. I think she was the one who was messing with Emmett in the beginning. This is a great character. I just wanted to, on a side note, say that this is a great character. I still don't remember what this character's name is. I've watched every episode multiple times and don't remember her name. And I just saw her in another flick the other day. But that's a minor note. But this is just another great character in the series, right? But he gets after it, launching his plan, right? And so, you know, he's about his business, okay. And this is where, like, you know, right, he's getting into, like, he's killing. Let's go back, in fact. Let's go back. Let's find that. Because that's way more compelling. Like, yeah, but the naked kid, yeah. No, I'm gonna quit. Come on now. Okay. Yeah, this is the scene right here, man. This scene right here, again, man, this is a great, like, spoiler alert scene. If you don't want to lose it in here, this was a great scene. This is why I come back and watch this show time and time again. Like, at the end of the day, I can poke holes in a lot of their storylines. This is just a straight up brutal fight. And, like, one thing this show does extremely well is brutality. Like, they put it out there. And having a bunch of these soups, you know, quads, you know, soups at various levels, all here just going at it, and he's controlling this one. Like, that was it. When he started taking over people, it's a cold moment, man. Like, this dude is just the orchestrator, and like, man, I'm telling you, his powers are insane. So if you haven't seen it, again, spoiler alert, this was just like an incredible scene in the flick or in the show, and just Tom like flexing his powers. And this is what kind of becomes tragic about this character, is that as far as we can tell, he's gone, right? Spoiler alert again, he's gone. Okay, so I'm not going to even like get into any of that stuff. You shouldn't be listening to me, because this is a reaction to what happened yesterday, right? So spoiler alert is what the name of the show is. So I think, like I said, man, this guy probably had the ability to take down Homelander, because he could control. I could be hitting you with multiple soups of varying powers working together in concert against you, right? And Homelander isn't the best strategist. He's gonna go with his brute force, which a lot of times works, but I don't know. In this case, I'm just saying I don't know, right? So you had it all for it to be dashed in that long. You had like less than a day of freedom. You had less than a day. You banged homegirl. You ate some really good food. Then you immediately got into killing kids. I don't think you shored up your plan enough. I feel like you had it all there, and this should have worked. But another case of a villain not really like fed into his plan. So. Again, this was just like a tremendous episode. The fight scenes, like, this didn't let me down, man. The fight scenes were all about it. I'm saying, with all these powers you got, all these, you get yourself the right 10 soups or whatever like that. And I think, man, you get Homeland. Even if you take over, I think the original 7 if he takes over the original 7, right? Obviously, Sans Homelander, but you got Maeve, you got Nor, say you got Nor and still you got Translucent, and you got A-Train, and you got the Deep. Man, I really don't like the Deep at all. But anyway, there's a lot that he probably could have done as far as taking out Homelander. I think this is a flex scene right here. This is a hardcore. I like that this dude got out, man. This dude was like, I'm boning out of here, man. Skeesters and gets out, right? Because it's just brutality all up in here. So, this was a really, really good fight scene. I felt like he really got to flex his muscle. Let's get a little further down to the series, like in this episode here, because it was a great one. So this is a cold scene. The second squadron comes in, and the first one, he didn't even let them die. They're all broken up, and he's just forcing their bodies to continue doing what they do. But there's a couple things we got to check out in this scene right here, because again, now I see why they say, y'all be going too far sometimes, right? And we're about to get to it, right? So brace yourself. Again, spoiler alert, right? This is it right here. Like, you can see everybody's getting ready for the fight, right? I love this. It's pretty serious, right? And if I've been going easy and y'all bloody, like, it's about to really get off the hook right here. But he has he gives no F's at all, man. Like, you can see the look on their faces. He's sending them in, right? But Kate's back, right? Like, Kate's back. She's back on the good side, right? And this is where, we got one more student. I wonder who this student could be. Who is this going to come through the door? Let's see. Who do you guys think that he has to stop and pause, man? That he has to be worried about here, right? Who could it be? You see that look on his face, a little shit, right? Bam, there she is. She's back. Like, this is her manifesting in her own, like, destiny right here. And this is a great scene. This is a cold-blooded intro. And, like, this is where the myth of Marie Monroe really, really starts to get active, right? You can feel her presence when she walks in. She's more confident. Because you've been playing dumb. You've been dealing with guys that move 10 steps ahead. And you consistently were 2 steps behind regular people in your game playing. So this is just a great scene right here. You can see his whole body level shifts. And this is the smartest guy in the game. So this is what we should know about Marie's ability. Like, I know the tendency was to say, okay, she has the same ability as Miss Newman, right? I can't remember her first name. Victoria. She has the same abilities as Victoria Newman. We saw early on in season 1, Victoria reveals that to her. And she was a devastating weapon. And there's a scene in there where she had a scene where Homelander was like, do you think your powers could get me? He's like, I know you're thinking about it, right? So he was really challenging her. And it was possible. Like, I was sitting there thinking, man, I wonder, could she get it? But it's because he's so fast, and because it has laser eye beams, and you don't have a relative level of invulnerability above a regular person. Like, if you try and he senses it and you don't get him right then, you're dead. Like, if you can't just bust his head, he got you. Now, is Marie that much stronger than Victoria, where now it matters. And that's the real question that we're walking out of here with. Because she walks in and she has a confidence and a presence, and she does have kind of crew. She has the team aspect along with her. So when she gets in here, and I'm gonna, this is it's a great fight scene. You're definitely gonna want to check this out if you haven't, because you get a bunch of soups, a lot of variety of soups, some we really hadn't even seen much through the series, through the some new ones got introduced to us, right? And I really enjoy watching these guys just get after it. So it's another brilliantly choreographed fight scene. I think that's something that the series isn't getting enough credit for. Great fight scene here, lots of moving parts, right? So that goes down, and in the end, of course, like, she gets him, right? So, no spoiler alert with there, but just some great quality work in terms of, like, let me get this right back here. Right. But this is another classic, like, you're doing too much taunting here. Why are you talking to this dude? Because it's not over, right? It's not over. Like, she wanted to taunt him. And she's making a point about the useless, hey, what's up there, JR Studio? Yeah, righteous. She makes a point about the weak ones being a part of this as well. And you did get defeated by the weak ones. Like the guy who let the people could hide people in his ass. He was a part of why you get beat, right? And right here, she should have ended it. This is where she should end it. Because more suffering would come along because you didn't just end this thing right here, right? You don't ever play with villains like that. You gotta just handle it. But ultimately, they all emerge out of this united group. And now, this is going to enter into a more fun part of the stories, more clearly defined. Like, I love Marie's sister. I'm so glad. Like, I don't think that your powers is going to work. Your precog, you're going to have to get up on that, because right now we're lacking in some areas, but I like the squad that's being arrived, and I like this character. So let's kind of skip the part I really want to talk about right here. Let's go back a little bit here. Oh yeah, okay, so these guys are on the run now, right? They got to go. Polarity's back in the mix. He's redeemed himself, right? Again, as when I talked about earlier was the relationship, right, between these two. So it's kind of fitting that they would end the season talking about, featuring these two characters, like, because they made a huge leap. They bridged, obviously, around Andre, his relationship with Andre, her relationship with Andre. So this was to me like a very cool moment in the series, this episode, right, to kind of bring these two together in the end, right? And he was kind of on a suicide mission, but he still has a purpose now, and that's tough. I wouldn't have hugged him with all that blood. That's one thing. They don't even care about blood in the series. Okay, so this is really what I wanted to get to here. This was the last of it, where they're trying to decide ultimately what they're going to do, who they're going to be, right? What their next move is. She decides that she should, go along with them. Annabelle decides she's going to go along with them. Now you're part of this. Why you would do this to yourself, I don't know. I think you could have went back. Marie mentions that she could have gone back to her life, and you got to have some people on the inside. So I don't know if being with the Rebel Outlaw crew, but this is a great forgiveness moment. This is, Marie's whole thing was that she was always looking for that acceptance from her family. And I think now that with her sister, I think they have it. And this is, I think, part of her confidence also growing as a character, having that, feeling that isolation, having that sense of family, and new family that she's kind of created for herself. Now I think she's more of a complete person. All right. So she's with the crew, but the crew's coming together, and this is where I really want to. Yeah, this is the part right here. You see the flashing light, so we know something's gonna go down right here. And what do we get here? Come on now with it. Yeah. So now we got Starlight on the scene, right? So now you're seeing like how this crew is coming together. There is two sides now. They're rebellion. So this link between the two shows, I think, was brilliantly done. And now that we got, obviously she had already been featured on here. We had Annie already on here, right? And Sage, right? Like, Sage is a bit like Sage, man. Like, okay. So, the hidden thing is Sage, and I meant to talk about this. Sage is the reason why Polarity was out, and that's a potential reason why they ended up, killing Thomas Godolkin. So because he was deviating off this plan. But that's something I'll talk about later. I'll get into that relationship later in that moment. But come on, man, we already seen Annie. Join the resistance. That was it right there, right? The resistance is on. So officially the resistance, and they're like, look, we kind of got our own resistance. We're doing our thing. Yeah, see, she's like, we already have a resistance. We already putting in work, but you guys are like the minor. And this is a good team right here. So again, the merger, like literally it says they're going to merge it. Right, she talks about like they're moving at another level, so these kids really do need them. So the levels that the two crews are in, it needs to be noted. And then my man A-Train came back on the scene, man. Let me see this. Yeah. So A-Train's back. So we starting to see the real crew form together. Overall, I was really, really excited about this episode. Looking forward to next season to get started. Actually probably the next season of The Boys, which I think starts like, man, I think it's in November. I'll check on that. But anyway, that's my reaction on the season finale of Gen V. I thought they did a great job wrapping up season 2. A lot of loose ends tied up, and they give us a good foretelling of what's to come. So anyway, hit up the channel. I got some great profiles done on a lot of these characters. Did A-Train, I think I did Marie, I did Kate. So if you want to, I did Little Cricket. So if you want to get into some like the psych profiles I've broken down the characters, just go, as always, like and subscribe to the channel. Definitely appreciate you for stopping in.